Hey, how's it going? And today I'm just going to give you some quick tips for quickly lighting a scene with an HDRI image. For this, I went to this one called Polyhaven. They're free, just download them, it's pretty cool. So to get started, I just have this, I don't even want to tell you what it is, but this came from a character creator. But, it's kind of, I don't even, it's a long story, but things we want to put on smoothing and switch the material to BSDF. And before I forget, press D on your keyboard and make sure you hit the quick preset for sRGB. That's extremely important. That's the first tip. Make sure you're in the right color space. Because all the time I'm working in linear, and then I'm thinking, why does this look so contrasty? And then I go into sRGB, and I'm like, holy cow, how did I forget that? So anyway, just to make this model look a little more interesting, I'm just gonna put some checkerboards on her. It's just kind of the thing I do. So double click this, and we're just gonna let's make this white. I know I have to scale it, so I'm just gonna hit 0.2. Whoops. 0.2 tab. 0.2 tab. 0.2 tab. Oh, not 1.1. 0.2 equals. Okay. Close. And then we're just going to plug that in. And there we go with that. So the first thing, I've already downloaded an image, an HDRI image. And so this is where you kind of see the similarity between the backdrop, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second here. So the first thing just to know, FYI, if we zoom out, remember there's two lights in here, and that's what the tips relate to. There's this light, which basically provides bounce light from the image that they call it global illumination, but it's basically bounce light. It's indirect light that's coming off that image. And then there's a direct light here, which mimics the sunlight. This light, distant light, can only be moved on the heading. It doesn't matter. It can only be moved like that, and it mimics like the sun across. You can see even in the scene right there how it's affecting her. But if you move it any other way, it doesn't really have you can rotate it like the sun, I guess. It doesn't matter what the position of it is. So you can rotate it on either one of those two axes, but it's basically mimicking the sun. And then there's this environment light. So just keep that in your mind. This is bounce light, indirect light. This is direct light. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, and there she is. And so if we go into the backdrop, let me just go into VPR for a second so you can see the scene. So that's just a standard backdrop. If I come up here, you can see the horizon right there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to come here, go to textured environment, double click that, go into texture, and then we're going to stay on image map. We're going to go to spherical, and we're going to load in an HDR image here. I downloaded here this rainforest trail one, and we go open, and then we can put that on the Y. And of course this is all out of scale, and I'll adjust that in a little bit. This is basically just kind of like the backdrop scene. Okay, and then what we can do is then we can go into the environment light. It's here somewhere, hold on. We can go into the environment light properties, here it is. Okay, and we can load in. Now it's showing our backdrop, but see if so the backdrop is lighting the scene, but not as well as the environment light will. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and click here and go texture and environment, double click this texture. We're just going to load in, go to spherical, and we're going to load in that same HDRI image. We're going to put it on the Y here. So it kind of puts us in the same thing, except now it's basically coming through our light, which gives us more control. So what I'm going to do is she looks weird just hanging in the sky like that. So I'm going to move around here and kind of try to find some spot to put her where you can't really notice the background. So I'm just going to, what am I doing? I'm just zooming in here. I just want her kind of in the, there's a lot of, maybe like, that's interesting. Maybe I'll put her like that. Okay, so now we've got our light lit with the environment light, and we can tone that down if we want. We can bring that image down, and we can just use our eyes to kind of guess where things are at. I'm trying, maybe like a little bit more green in there. You just look around. It's interesting how she seems to be turning as the image is turning. That's very interesting. Never really noticed that before. I'll just leave her there. Okay, so maybe I'll drop her down a little bit more. So we've got her lit with the environment light. We're in the right color space. Everything looks good. The only other light that, and I don't know, I could almost blow her out there, but to me, I'm just going by what looks right to me. Okay, so that takes care of that. The only other light that we really have to worry about is, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to just click on her, and I'm just going to, oops, I messed up there. Hold on. I'm going to click on position, and I'm just going to move her off here a little more to the side, like right there. Okay. Then is the distant light. And it's kind of hard to tell from this, but we just go into the distant light, and we kind of trying to play around, and I don't know, I'm just kind of guessing the direction of the sun. I see some lights over here, so I see looks like the sun's coming down at maybe kind of a higher angle. So what I can do is get on rotation here and play around with the light until I think it's hitting her. I think the other lights are hitting her. So those seem a little bit dappled. So just playing around with the lighting until I think it's kind of matches the scene. And then here's my tip, is if you look at the direct light, so we have the image coming from the environment light, and so that's basically providing bounce lighting from this image onto her, which is really blends her in. And then we also have the direct light, but this is just a generic color. This isn't anything. So what we can do is if we click on that and we go pick from image, we can come over here and pick from image, pick from screen, I'm sorry. We can come over here and find a color of light that's more matching. See, so it's maybe like a lighter yellow. And then we can play with the intensity of this light as well, bringing it up, bringing it down. You can notice there's some highlights coming in on her. So just real subtle, play around with it. And that should basically do it. And if you look at that image, it very well, if we did some other things, if we scaled her and put some shadows on there, she's very well lit for that particular environment, I think. I wouldn't know that that's not a statue right there in that scene. So, and of course you could play around with, if you went on her, maybe she shouldn't be so shiny. You could bring the specularity down perhaps. Things like that. But generally speaking, that's how you would light your scene. Color your direct light the same color as something in the scene, and then use this HDR lighting through the environment light to bounce the same imagery color onto her. And then don't forget to be in the correct color space. So that's all I had for today. I hope you found this helpful. Take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.